everyone, and welcome back to We're Watching Star Trek, the original series. I am Brandon, and you can probably tell that I'm a little bit under the weather, and I think by the end of this week I'm going to be over the weather because it's supposed to be like 99 fucking degrees out, and now I'm curious about the etymology of under the weather and where that came from. But I don't think he's under the weather, but he is Paul.
Yo, what's up, people? Before we even get to Dan, I want to clarify one thing. That Brandon did come up with the Star Trek detective show.
Yes.
It was not my creation. I must apologize and say he was right for the first time ever in the show's history.
Okay.
He was right about something, and he said Star Trek detective, and I went crazy with all my ideas. But yes, he came up with the idea. So even though I'm taking the show for my own now and making it, he shall get credit for the one sentence that inspired me for the future.
Wow,
so,
the backhanded apology. I like it. I love it, actually. But I guess now we can introduce Dan. You're here, right, Dan?
I mean, I just have to say Paul is one humble guy.
Yeah, he really is, isn't he? He's right, but just barely, and just the one time. Yeah,
you're an inspiration to us all, Paul.
Yeah. The point is I admitted it to our audience, okay? So they know that I admit I was wrong.
Yep, I'll take it. I'm not going to complain about it. I'll print out the waveform and just frame it and put it on my wall.
On the wall.
Brandon was right.
See this right here, son? Yep, that's Paul apologizing. He's going to be like, who's Paul? But today, we are covering Season 1, Episode 22, Space Seed. The original air date was February 15th, 1967. If you couldn't tell, or if you hadn't guessed, the Enterprise is moving through space, because it would be weird if it was moving anywhere else. And,
well, if it was moving through time, it'd be the TARDIS, so wrong show.
Well, it's moving forward through time at regular speed.
I mean, that is true. Which they never really explained the time dilation in the show.
Why does Brandon ruin things by being smart with logic? Every time.
It's more like just being a smart ass.
That's his inner Spock coming out.
Yeah, definitely. He always got to ruin well, technically I'm moving through time. Normal, I was like, bro.
Yeah, we're all time travelers, just in one direction.
Thank you. I like that. Oh my God. That's a very good analogy of life, though. We're all time travelers, just all moving forward. Dang, man, I hate you, Brandon. You're so smart sometimes.
I might get another apology soon.
Oh, man, this logic stuff, man.
So yeah, they're moving through space, and as my note says, the Burge crew, but I believe it's actually supposed to say Bridge crew, because I don't know where the fuck the Burge is. But they're on the bridge, and they're watching a screen, and somebody says that they're coming up on an object pretty quickly, this is not the first or second time that this has happened. They just, for space being so big and empty, they sure as hell do find a lot of shit out there, like just on accident.
Yeah, that shit almost never happen, in all honesty.
Yeah, like every other episode, they're running into something nobody knew was there.
Yeah, but maybe there's a lot more out there in space than we know about, so I know it's very rare, but at the same time, you gotta have a premise for the show. You gotta do something.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it'd be boring if they're just flying around and nothing happens.
Yeah.
But Spock does confirm that his readings say that it's an unknown vessel that they're approaching, and that no Earth flights have been seen in that sector for years, so it can't be an Earth ship. And then Uhura picks up a Morse code signal, and Kirk questions Spock's readings. He's like, hey, are you sure about that, buddy? Because Morse code is like a human thing. But also, Uhura started to translate the code, and Kirk is just like a total dick, and he's like, yeah, I got it. Like, I can do this.
Yeah.
Like, it's really unnecessarily mean.
I was like, not all of us know how to speak SOS, Morse code.
I don't.
I
He was so shitty about it.
Yeah, he kind of cut off like, yeah, I know this. Like, of course.
No. Now we'll never know what the message says.
Nope.
But Spock and Kirk do joke a little bit about how Kirk gets pleasure when Spock is wrong, and then, they're just approaching the ship. So, wow, what an appropriate start for the episode today. But Spock says that it's a DY-100 class ship that was built way back in the 1990s. And Kirk believes that its signal was left on automatic, so it's just, broadcasting repeatedly. And Spock says that maybe it's being used by aliens.
I gotta jump in here really quick. Humankind really let the show down. If we didn't build anything that cool in the 90s.
Right?
Yep. I thought about the same thing when I heard the 90s. I thought, oh, that's in the future. I think the more curious thing is Did they mention the war thing just now? Like at the time, the first time?
No, we get to that a little bit later.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, Dan, to your point, like this show thought that in the '90s we were going to be, having sweet interplanetary spacecraft, and what we ended up with was like the Matrix,
The internet.
and I think, yeah, and like Clarissa Explains It All was what we got.
Yeah, I felt like they were trying to take a good guess for the future, and man, were they wrong. I mean, they got a lot of stuff right, but they didn't get nothing right in the 90s.
We did get, several huge technological leaps in the 90s, but not interplanetary ships. Not yet, anyway. But Kirk calls down to the weapons room to make sure that they are ready, and Dr. McCoy announces that there are some heartbeat readings coming from the ship, but that they're too faint and too slow to be human. So I thought it was going to be Vulcans. Spock informs Kirk that they're picking up readings of some sort of equipment on the vessel, and so Kirk's like, all right, let's go full alert. And then they start to pull up to the ship, and we get the show's opening. So we come back from the opening, and we get a captain's log just explaining the situation, that they've been on full alert for an hour now, and I would think that after like 30 minutes of being on full alert, everybody's just on like no alert, because like being, just in tune for that long and then nothing happening, you're gonna start to get lazy. So I wonder if that becomes an issue on that ship, because like, you can only be so alert for so long.
Well, I thought it was weird they didn't go to yellow alert actually instead of red.
Yeah, straight to red.
I thought that was kind of interesting because you never see Kirk go to the next level that quick unless something happens and then he reacts. So
Yeah,
I
they
thought,
have been more relaxed about more serious situations than this.
yeah, they're more reactive than they are active. So I thought it was kind of weird he went to red alert, and I was like, oh. And then when he came back after commercial, it was still on alert, and I was like, oh, okay, that's weird. I don't know why. Somebody picked up one earlier. I wrote it down in my notes.
Maybe Kirk is finally picking up on the fact that every fucking time anything happens, it doesn't go his way, and maybe he should get on top of that in the beginning.
In the beginning, but he doesn't.
Yeah, he's I'm gonna try it this time. We're not gonna get beat and then have to make a comeback, or
it only took him 21 episodes to learn that.
Right. So McCoy enters the bridge, and he informs Kirk that the heartbeats are coming from like 60 to 70 bodies on the ship. And Spock says that they've uncovered the name of the ship, and it's called the SS Botany Bay, but it's not listed in the registry anywhere, and it's possibly because of fragmented records caused by the last World War. So this is where they mention the World War. And McCoy says that they were called the Eugenics Wars, which sounds like something from Marvel, and Spock notes that it was the Earth's attempt to improve humans through selective breeding. So McCoy and he kind of get into it a little bit, and McCoy's like, well, it wasn't our attempts. It was some scientists that were unemotional and devoted to logic. Does that sound like anybody you know? And they start to go like back and forth for a second, but Kirk is just like, all right, like cut this shit. Like we got stuff going on here.
Okay, here's my question, or like my genius thing about the show. So the term eugenics, did it exist at the time, or is this just something they made up?
Had to have existed at the time, right?
Okay, the part
eugenics
two,
has been around for a while, I believe.
Okay, part two. All right, did they know about genetics that deep back then, like in the 60s? Did they know about genetics and deep in that way it works? And then who would think that eventually in the future they would try to use DNA to manipulation to make a better race and then create like a war behind it? This is like a really, really big idea for the 60s and 70s. Or am I tripping? Or am I losing my, like, is that weird?
I feel like that idea has been along since like the beginning of the study of human DNA, though. Like since pretty much right when we found out, what DNA is and how it works. I think that's when those ideas started to come up.
But DNA started testing, I believe, in the late 90s, actually. I thought the DNA
testing or like studying.
I don't know if you can even see it before then. I don't know. I'm curious. I don't know I didn't look it up. But I know that a big thing about a lot of cases before the early 90s is their DNA testing didn't exist in the criminal field. So now they go back some time and like DNA test things, and then they find out who the criminals are. So it's a real big thing I'm thinking about, but it's really weird that in the 60s they would think about in the future that like there may be a genetic war to make better humans. And that would be a reason behind a war. It's like a really big, like smart idea to me, and how they think of it. That's kind of my.
Yeah. So just a quick Google study, nature.com. I don't know how relevant that is. It says that many people believe that American biologist James Watson and English physicist Francis Crick discovered DNA in the 1950s. In reality, this is not the case. Rather, DNA was first identified in the late 1860s by Swiss chemist Friedrich Miescher, I think.
Wow.
So even going by what they say here in the 50s, it is still a relatively new thing because this is only 17 years after that. So
yeah, I just think it's a really cool, like really cool big idea that because even today I can imagine that's actually happening right now. So for us, like people genetically altering themselves and things like that in the chemistry world, So
I like the idea of the eugenics war where they were like, hey, let's make humanity better. And then they ended up like there was just a huge fight about it because I fucking guarantee you it was people going, well, we're sure we're making, stronger, better people. But what about me? Like, you can't do that to me. And then I guarantee you that's how that fucking war started.
Yep.
Like, what about mine? Like, how do I get to be better? Like, well, you can't. Yep. This is a future generation thing. Well, fuck the future generation. I want that now.
It probably didn't help, though, that the superior people wanted to rule over the inferior people, though.
I could imagine that being an issue. That's
absolutely.
That's probably a fair point.
But if you notice,
and if you were on the inferior side compared to the superhumans, you probably would be a little worried.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
But the people the superhumans were made off of, like, were marrying, though, were like Julius Caesar and like Napoleon and all these Alexander the Great, all these great leaders. So it's not like they were like going to be them being better kind of worked out than everybody else. It made the world better at that time.
Well, there's a good point made by Spock a little bit later that I think will probably re-spark this conversation. So we'll leave it there for now. But I will say that when McCoy and Spock are arguing, Uhura is sitting in the back. Like, she turns completely around and just watches this shit with this big smile on her face, just like full on ready to go. She's like, I'm going to fucking enjoy this show. I'm sick of, like, she never gets to do anything. She isn't in any fucking episodes. And then they're always fucking bickering. And she's just like, I'm just going to sit and watch and enjoy it.
I was watch and enjoy this clown show. That's funny.
Yeah. It's hilarious. She's just sitting back there having the time of her life.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, that's what you get for telling me to shut up when I'm trying to decode a message for everyone.
Yeah. And she's like, this is why I don't talk to any of you fucking clowns unless I'm ordered to. But they lock onto the vessel with their tractor beam, and Kirk leaves Spock in charge as he and Bones head to the transporter room, and he asks for Lieutenant MacGyver's, not the guy that makes stuff out of other like paper clips and shit. He asks for her to be sent to the transporter room because she's a historian and she's familiar with Earth's late 20th century. And Spock seems really confused by that for some reason. He's just like, her? Like, all right. But we go to MacGyver's quarters, and she's getting ready to continue a painting that she's doing of what looks to be like a Roman soldier or something. And she gets paged to the transporter, and she gets like fucking annoyed about it. She's like, I guess I gotta do my job. And she goes and responds. She's like, all right, I'm on my way.
Yeah, the irony is they probably never need you. You should be happy they finally need you for something.
Right?
Like, they don't even know about the 1990s that often. Like, let's be real here. Like, hey, your dumb college study finally came through.
Yeah, dude, what a fucking niche thing to know about.
Yeah.
That's how she got on the Enterprise too. She's like, I know all this stuff about the 90s.
Yeah, they're like, well, we got a spot to fill. I guess we take her, like, just in case we need her, but I don't see that happening. And then, like, she finally gets her chance to shine. She's like, I'm busy painting my 80th painting of a fucking ancient soldier.
She's like, yeah, I'm doing what I gotta do.
Yeah.
You know, I thought the whole episode she was only going to be talking about, like, Mario and Sonic the Hedgehog. But she knew some stuff, I guess.
She's actually, like, a 20th century video game expert. They just keep forgetting the video game part. So we go to the transporter room, and Scotty reports that the vessel's heat is coming on, the one that they're getting ready to go to, and that it has an oxygen atmosphere, so it must be getting ready for them to go there. And then McCoy makes a really weird statement here for this late into the season about how he's not excited to have his atoms scattered by the transporter and then, like, put back together. Which, it's just, like, he's been transported a few times and he never seemed to give a shit. Has he been? Has he been transported a few times?
Yeah, he has, but he always complains.
Does he?
Does he always complain?
Yeah, he always seems annoyed to get transported. Yeah,
Huh.
Man, nobody wants to do their job today.
Well, he's like certainly annoyed by it, but I think it becomes part of his character in the future too.
I mean,
Like
I understand it because he is like a medical doctor, so he understands all about the body, and he probably sees that thing as just like bullshit. Not witchcraft, but you know what I mean? Just like sciencey fucking bullshit that can go wrong.
Yeah, I think one part halfway through this, I know one thing about it in the future where it's part of his niche of his character where he hates getting transported because the idea of him getting put up in atoms and then put back together really freaks him out.
Yeah.
So
Well, I
like
mean, well, fuck yeah.
this might be the first time they show it. Maybe you notice it, but I know it's definitely a big part of his character because I remember that being a thing.
Huh. Yeah, I hadn't noticed that before. But McGivers and Scotty, or MacGyvers, I think MacGyvers, joins, and Scotty join Kirk and Bones on the transporter, and they go and they beam onto the ship, and then they immediately notice that they're surrounded by people that are in sort of like a cryo sleep, and they're all in individual chambers. So Scotty is just like, he's the one guy today that wants to do his job. He immediately just starts examining the ship, and he's like talking to Kirk about its construction and all this shit.
Well, he's totally nerding out over it.
Oh, dude, he loves it. He's like, this is an old ship, dude. He literally says he would love to tear the thing apart. Like, he just wants to know how it works. Like, fuck yeah, go Scotty. But MacGyvers explains that it looks like they're in a sleeper ship and that the people on board are in a suspended animation because of the time that it used to take them to traverse in space. They couldn't go as quickly as they do now, so they had to, do the whole cryo sleep thing, which is how you end up with xenomorphs on your ship.
Which is funny, they brought up another date when they were talking about that. 2018 is when they made the leap forward to be able to travel faster.
Yeah, we missed that one too. I don't remember really anything great happening in 2018. Actually, I don't even think I remember 2018.
There's some kind of science quote I know that like if you spend 5 years in space and then come back, then it's actually 10 years past on Earth, or 50 years, or 20 years past on Earth, or something like that. There's some kind of time dilation when you travel in space than when you're on Earth.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I don't know.
To the speed of light, like the slower everything around you goes, but you're still traveling faster. So like 5 years for you is like 10 years for, Earth. And that's why I was asking, they never really explain how they get around to time dilation.
Well, they get around it by just fucking never going back to Earth.
Or never mentioning it, actually.
That's true.
They never mention it, though.
Yeah, if you don't talk about it, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, they don't mention time dilation. So I know it exists because I've heard about it, like scientific nerd-wise, but they probably back then they even think it was a thing. So maybe back then they never even considered it.
Right. But they do wonder if it's possible for the people in these chambers to be alive, and Scotty gets the lights working on them so that they can have a look around. And then McCoy starts to get a new reading, and his tricorder points him to one of the sleeping people who is starting to wake up. Kirk asks MacGyver, he's like, hey, maybe you think this person could be their leader? And she's too busy just staring at this dude because she is just full on, like, she just wants to take him to Pound Town already.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah, she doesn't respond to Kirk at all. And Kirk's like, hey, I'm talking to you, you fuck. And so she confirms what he was thinking, that, maybe he's their leader and he was the one that was first scheduled to wake up to determine if everything was safe for the rest of the crew to wake up. And she says that she thinks that he might be a Sikh from northern India and that they are fantastic warriors. So Scotty comes back and he confirms that the others are not waking up and that they're from all over Earth. So they have just like a multicultural crew there. But the cryo chamber that this guy is in starts to malfunction. And McCoy's readings confirm that the guy is dying because of it. So they don't have any time to repair the chamber, and Kirk just says, fuck it, and smashes it open with his... I forget, does he find something? Yeah, he finds like a tool and just like smashes open the glass.
Yeah, something, yeah,
and,
smashes it, yeah.
Yeah, and they just force it open, and they pull the dude out. And he does that whole... he's like half awake, and he's trying to talk, but he can't, and Kirk gets really close. And he's like, how long have I been sleeping? And Kirk says that it's been 2 centuries. And then he rolls back over and he's like, 5 more minutes. And he just goes back to sleep.
Yeah.
I do want to say something right here about the art design. The design of this stuff is so cool. Like the background, the costume with the end. Even when he pulled open the door to get the guy and then the damn door like slid out. after he opened it. Like it all looked.
Yeah, he was in like a pizza oven.
Yeah. That's what pretty much what it looked like, a pizza oven. Yeah. It looked really, really good. Like whoever does the art design in the show and do the props and everything do a really good job. And I just want to clarify that.
Yeah, and the set builders too.
Yeah,
They
set builders,
just did an amazing job on something you were only going to really see this one time.
Yep. And I think it's interesting because this is one of the weird shows where I look at so I'm watching with you guys. I look at all the background and stuff, and nothing looks dated. Like it doesn't look dated. All the prop stuff they use, it looks good for the date, but it doesn't. It's not so bad. You're like, oh, I can tell it's an old show. You know,
Right.
It's nothing like that.
Well, I think as time's gone on, it's looked better. Like the graphics look better over time.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I think it looks really, really good, and I don't know. I just noticed that about it.
Yeah, it does hold up really well, and I do frequently forget that it was like made in the 60s.
Yeah.
Which is just a testament to how well all of their set design and their props and things were made.
Yeah.
But they call the Enterprise to have the Enterprise transport McCoy and the guy here back over so they can keep him alive. And then we go to a commercial break, come back. Captain's log says that they've finished examining the SS Botany Bay and they're waiting to see how the man recovers before they try to revive the other people, which is a solid plan. It's like, what if he doesn't make it, but they already started waking everybody up? McCoy is really impressed at the man's physical and recuperative power. So Kirk is on the bridge, and he calls down to Scotty, who is on the other vessel still, to see if he's found any books or records of any kind. And Scotty says he hasn't found anything, but he says that it appears that the people were in a suspended animation when the ship launched. So this isn't something that happened. They launched and then just got in. He says that 12 of the chambers have malfunctioned, which leaves 72 still operating, 30 of which are women, which was weird that he went around to like get that specific, but good for him.
Okay,
like, that may come in handy later.
No, we're talking about this right now because I wrote that down myself. He said 30 are women. I'm like, why do you say 30 women? Why did it matter that 30 are women? Like, hey, Kirk, yay, bro. 30's
Yeah, specifically for him.
He's like
30
and
of these
most
are
of them
women,
are
Kirk.
blonde
Yeah,
also,
like-
so
like,
just a heads up.
like, it's gonna be like 30 are women and 10 of them are blonde. Like, it was such a weird thing. I wrote it down. Why did he specify 30 women? Like, why did that matter? It didn't matter at all.
Yeah, I mean, I'm poking fun at it, but I think that it's one of those things where they're just trying to solve this mystery of this ship, and so any information right now is good information, maybe. And maybe he just wanted to feel like one of the boys for once and like throwing everything out there so something
Yeah.
sticks.
Well, did you see their uniforms from the 90s? Like, man, what were they thinking?
Yeah, I remember back in the 90s, I wore that for like a week, and I was like, nah, I can't do this anymore. And then I stopped. It never caught on.
You didn't like the see-through clothing?
Yeah, the weird like gold almost chainmail look wasn't really for me. I wasn't tan enough to pull it off is the issue. Wow, nothing for that. Fuck you both.
I was waiting for Paul to go on a rant about their clothing, honestly.
I gave it time and they got nothing.
I
Fuck.
was like,
Tough
Dan
crowd.
go. I was like, Dan go, because I was reading my notes when he said that. I was reading my notes. My bad.
Tough fucking
Well,
crowd.
see, your problem, Brandon, is that you were trying to be emo also, wearing gold chains.
Yeah, hey, that was goth, all right? It wasn't a phase.
Oh, my bad. Sorry.
Oh, snap.
So Kirk reports to Spock, who says that he can't find any record of the ship still, and he says that the DY-100 class vessel was made for interplanetary travel, and that star travel was considered impractical at that time. And he goes on to say that the odds of them making it to another star system were 10,000 to 1, and then he's just questioning why there were no records of the ship. And Kirk notes that the Botany Bay was the name of a penal colony in Australia, and Spock doesn't think that it was a group of deported criminals because the entire planet was at war and that would be a waste of a perfectly good advanced spaceship just to get rid of some criminals. But he also he says that he has no theory either.
Well, I think Spock missed the point of that conversation that originally Australia was a penal colony. That's where the British used to dump their criminals. Like, oh, hey, here's the horrible land where everything tries to kill you. No offense, Australia.
But also, why the fuck do they even have this 20th century Earth history expert if Kirk knows everything down to the name of a fucking prison in Australia in the 90s? Like, why did they even have her if he just knows everything?
Or did he research it online? Or is it in the computer world?
Well, he's like, if memory serves me correctly,
Oh
he
yeah,
just
okay,
goes
okay.
listing every fucking prison that there was in the 90s at the time, and he's
So
like, yeah, there
now,
was this one in
okay,
Australia.
good. So now Kurt is a genius and he's Superman. So who was a genius and Superman? He's both things.
Captain Kirk.
Captain Kirk.
Yeah, Captain Kirk.
He's a superhero and he's a genius. He's both.
Hey, that's why he's the captain.
Mm.
So they have a quick conversation about how Spock doesn't get irritated because Kirk's like, oh man, not having a theory must be really irritating to you. And Spock's like, well, I don't get irritated. And then they rig the Botany Bay for towing because they're going to take it to Starbase 12. We go to the sick bay, and McCoy is monitoring the guy. They just pulled off the ship as Kirk walks in. And Bones notes that the guy's heart valve action is twice the power of his or Kirk's, and his lung efficiency is 50% better, even in his rested state. So he's like, man, I wonder if he's as smart as he is strong. And then McGivers walks in, or MacGyver's. I'm never going to get it. It's both. I think it's MacGyver's. But she wanders in, and she's super happy that the guy's likely going to be alive because that means that she can jump his bones later. But she's unhappy when Kirk pulls her aside and starts to reprimand her for her performance at the landing party, like just not paying attention and just ogling this dude. And he kind of accuses her of finding the guy more compelling to her personally. And she just says that it's a professional thing, but then she's eventually just like, oh, okay, maybe I got this little thing for him. And Kirk's like, all right, you see, if we can have honesty, then it's easier for me to overlook mistakes, which I find is true for a lot of people. That's why I wish people would just be fucking honest all the time. But
I understand
that's
that
a whole other
totally.
discussion.
Yeah, that's a whole. It'd be like, yo, I messed up, yada yada. I get what you're saying.
Like, all right, cool. Don't let it happen again. See you
Yep.
later. But she leaves the room, and McCoy makes a joke that Kirk would have made a fair psychologist, and he's just like, fair? I think Kirk is just upset that this good-looking chick has a thing for the other dude and not for him. That's his issue
That's
right
kind
now.
of what I thought
think-
too. He was a little
No,
jealous.
actually, no. The term "fair" is not what you think. He's mad because he said fair and not great or amazing. See, back then they used the term
Oh.
fair to describe a thing. So it's a
Yeah.
So you're looking at it the wrong way. Yeah, I called it that way because I was thinking about the way they talk back then. He's like fair, like, oh, I'll only be fair. Like, no, I'll be
Yeah,
amazing.
like okay, yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, so it's a time thing. I'm assuming that's what he meant. That's what because of the way they talk back then. Because you could describe something as fair.
Yeah, context clues, and I didn't pick up on them.
Yep.
So Kirk just leaves the room, and the dude starts to wake up, and he does some really weird stretches. Like, I was pretty sure he was about to do like some Naruto shit.
Well, when you've been asleep for 200 years, you gotta stretch before you move.
Yeah, you got to make sure you can still all do all that ninjutsu magic stuff.
I think for funny, I think it was really funny and cool and original because I never would have thought about somebody doing that in the morning. But then I think about people who do yoga now. So I'm like,
Yeah.
and think about yoga's Indian, right? And then he's supposed to be from an Indian area, right?
Right.
So
Yep.
so I thought when I saw that, I thought, oh, okay, so maybe they know about yoga, so they're making it like he does a yoga thing every time he gets up in the morning.
Yeah, I mean, just got to get his chakra all aligned and shit.
Yeah, whatever.
Which
it is.
actually, yoga's really good for you physically too, and damn difficult. I've tried a little bit of it, and it's not as easy as it looks. You would think like you're just
Only for
moving your arms and
flexible.
legs and doing poses. That shit is not easy. But he's doing his stretches, and he hears Bones talking in the other room, and then he's looking around the room for a weapon, and he sees some medical tools on the wall, and he grabs what looks like a really long surgical knife, and then he goes back and lays down on the bed and pretends to be asleep. So Bones comes in to check on him, and the guy shoots up and grabs McCoy by the throat and puts the knife to his throat. And then McCoy's just like cold as fuck, like just stone cold, straight face says, "Will either choke me or cut my throat. Make up your mind." Like he just doesn't give a
Yeah.
fuck.
He even gives them tips on how to do it more efficiently. Like, hey, cut behind my ear.
Yeah, he like the dude is super surprised. Like, first of all, he's surprised to hear Bones speak English, and he wants to know where he is. And then this is where McCoy just gives him a fucking pointer on how to kill him faster with the knife. Like, he's like, yeah, if you go for the carotid artery, like Jesus Christ. He's like, look,
this is
kill me or let me go, but I got shit to do. All right.
This is interesting because I think this is Bone being like how Kurt would be. Like Kurt would be a
Oh,
super
dude, he was
strong
being a boss
brave.
in that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, just calling the dude's bluff. He's like, look, kill me or don't, but either way, I got shit to do, so let's
Yeah.
get it over with. Yeah, it was fucking, dude, that was a solid moment for McCoy. But the dude ends up letting him go, and he's like, oh yeah, you're pretty brave. And McCoy says that he was just simply trying to avoid an argument, which I mean, whatever. Sometimes you'd rather die than argue. And he explains the situation to the dude and says that he's been out for 2 centuries, and then the guy just wants to know where the captain is. So McCoy goes to the intercom and calls Kirk down to talk to him. And we cut to a little bit later where Kirk goes into the room and introduces himself, but the dude won't give his name until his questions get answered, which is like really shitty as a guest. Like they kind of saved your life.
Yeah, we saved you, woke you up. No, go ahead, be a dick.
Now I'm trying to make sure everything's all cool. If I tell you my name, what if I'm, I don't know, Prince Harry or something, and you're and you're something else? Now I want to make sure who you are first.
Well, I mean, he woke up and he wasn't like strapped down. He wasn't in a cage or anything. Like that alone would make me go, okay, like it can't be that bad, right?
Oh, that's how they trick you. Did he get my?
Yeah.
That's how you get.
They're playing 8D chess with him.
Yeah, you think you're free? You think you're free?
They transport you into the cage.
Yeah, immediately. Like, oh yeah, it's all good. I'll tell you everything. Next thing you know, that's how they get you.
But he just wants to know where they're going. So Kirk tells him where they're going, and it doesn't matter because he doesn't know where the fuck that is anyway. And then he asks about the people on his ship, and he's relieved to know that they're alive and that they're going to be revived eventually. And so he does say that his name is Khan, but he won't give a last name. And it's not Khan Supanusinpone for anybody that's ever seen King of the Hill.
Oh, never seen it.
All right, well,
I've seen King of the Hill, but I don't remember that joke.
Khan was the neighbor from when he first moved in. He was like the East Asian guy. Yeah. And they were asking if he was from Japan or China, and he says that he's from Laos, which is a landlocked country in Southeast Asia. And they're like, all right, so are you Chinese or Japanese? It's fucking Khan.
I forgot his name was Khan.
Yeah, Khan Supanusinpone. He buys a car wash later. But Kirk starts asking Khan some questions and asks he asks the exact day that they lifted off, and Khan's like, oh, I'm too tired to answer that. So Kirk's like, it's all right. My questions aren't going to take too long. You go to sleep afterwards. But McCoy interrupts and just tells Kirk to come back another time. So before he leaves, Khan wants some reading material, and he says that he's an engineer and that he's interested in studying the technical manuals on the ship, which is
so
real
he can read
weird.
But not answer questions.
Right. He can read technical manuals on a starship, but he can't answer any questions right now. So McCurk, yeah. That's a weird mashup. Oh my God. That's either a fusion or a child. I don't know which. But Kirk says that McCoy will show him how to access the manuals through the computer, and then he just exits the room. And
did anyone else think that was a terrible idea?
Yeah, so I was just about to say.
Like, this guy is from the eugenic wars. That should be a red flag right there. Like, hey, maybe we shouldn't give this guy unfettered, access to our information.
Okay, guys, you're wrong about the whole situation is messed up. Here's what he said. He said the tech manual is available to anybody on the ship. He said that.
Right.
To anybody.
But yeah, they're all Starfleet on the ship for the most part.
Anybody that comes to the ship has access to it. That's to the tech manuals. I don't think that's smart.
No, not at all.
Like, it's not about him having access to it. It's about the fact that he clearly said that anybody has access to it. I don't get that at all. And that means anybody in the ship at all can look in there, learn stuff, change things around, do whatever you want to do by studying the manuals.
Yeah, like, I can't just show up at an Air Force base and be like, hey, can I get the tech manual for that stealth bomber out there?
Yeah. Like, oh, yeah, here you go. Just read this one.
That's available to everybody. Here you go. There's just like fucking 100 copies of it sitting on the counter.
Yeah,
they're just counting on that you won't understand it.
Right. And that was one of my issues with, first of all, why the fuck is that available to everybody? But second of all, like, why is Kirk always such a bad judge of character that he can't see that this guy is not chill? And just don't give him access to that. Be like, sorry, all we have are issues of Spider-Man. Just like let him fucking read that.
or offer him history. Offer him the thing of history.
Right, yeah, let him get caught up a little bit.
Yeah, but hey, I know you've been here 20 years of history, just so you know, so you can study it, something.
Yeah, that seems like really bad protocol to just make that available.
Yeah, here's how to take over the ship if you want to. Cough, cough.
Yeah. But a little bit later on the bridge, Kirk and Spock are discussing Khan, and they think that he's a product of selective breeding. They're like, he might be a Superman. So, actually, don't we all breed selectively? Like, well, I guess some people don't, because they got like 45 fucking kids. But anyway.
No, they selected those women, though. They selected those women technically. There's two versions of selective.
Yeah.
There's selective and selective, and they select all the women.
Just select every single one.
So they're just doing what Kirk does in the future.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I choose you.
So they start to talk about how the people in the program started fighting with each other because Spock puts it very, very well, and he says that superior ability breeds superior ambition, which is what we were talking about at the beginning, Paul, when you were talking about like how you thought it was a good idea that they were fighting, and they made that, like, they fleshed that out really well, that yeah, people that can do pretty much anything are going to want to do like everything. Like eventually it's not going to be enough. And I think that it's a very well put together plot device for like the eugenics wars is something that I hope that we get to learn more about in this series, because it's a super interesting period where apparently we said, hey, you know, let's try to make humanity better. And then the people that got made better thought that they were just above everybody and then like used their betterment in a way that they were not supposed to, which I think is just like, it's a really good idea.
In my mind, when they were talking about it, all I could picture was a bunch of like Homelanders running around just doing horrible things.
I mean,
so is this our new TV show? Our next TV show, Star Trek Eugenics War?
Yeah, dude, I mean, I'd watch it. Fuck, I'd watch it all.
Yeah, Star Trek Eugenics War. I assume this is our next show where it just shows the war of Eugenics Wars or whatever. And I guess it don't have to be that current either, because the 90s is the kind of open world of Star Trek. We didn't really know what's going on. So you're really open to have the world however you want to.
You could do something like the Rise of Khan, you know, showing him conquering, what they say, like Asia, the Middle East, and part of Africa.
Yeah, give us the young Khan, like, coming to power and just having his rule.
And then at the end, he'll get launched into space, and then it'll be the gap.
Yeah, just
gap
whatever
between.
happened to cause him to leave, yeah.
I think that'd be a great idea for a TV show.
Yeah, well, we want a great TV show. Star Trek, we want royalties.
Yeah, Paramount. Like, get a hold of us, please.
Please, we got great ideas for shows for you, I promise you.
Just sit down with Paul can even write them.
You can, yeah, I can even write. That's right. I can write it. We can milk the hell out of Star Trek. Do you understand how much money we can make? I'm telling you.
I just want a cameo every season where I'm like mopping a corridor in the Enterprise. That's all I want.
Oh no, I want a cameo where I'm a ship captain every episode, every time, every season.
Every season.
Every season, I want to be the captain.
I know I'll be on the lower deck, so I just accept that I'll be one of the characters that will be getting killed off in the show.
Immediately. Just immediately.
I have my fingers crossed.
Like, hey, I'm Corporal Dan, and then you're dead. Yeah. Yeah, Paul, you could play your own ancestors throughout the time periods, like the different periods, the different timelines. Yeah.
Oh, yep. See, I like it.
Just like you're just like, my son is going to be the greatest captain, even a better one than me. And then in a different series, you're like, I'm a better captain than my dad, but my son's going to be a better one than me. And then the next series, you're just like, my great grandpappy was a captain.
Well, I'm good if I was a captain. You know what?
You all look exactly the same.
I like this.
Yep, that's where we're going with it.
Oh man, let's do it.
So these guys, they continue to talk about the people in the eugenics program, and Spock says that when the supermen were finally defeated, there were 80 or 90 of them that were unaccounted for. And Kirk notes that history texts don't include that fact, and Spock is like, well, it was likely kept a secret, because would you want these, newly peaceful countries and things to know, and would you want the public to know that, the people responsible for this time period are still alive? Which, I mean, fuck yeah, just let them, a little vigilante justice.
Does that mean that since they didn't tell the world population that they had like 80 or 90 like Supermen running around, that you would think that every time they would have an offspring was someone who isn't, superior, wouldn't your children's genetics become superior over time?
Yeah, you would think so.
Because their genes would be the dominant genes being passed down, you would imagine. Right,
yeah, they'd have to be.
Yeah, but I think the bigger thing is I don't think somebody would take somebody inferior as a spouse.
There's always going to be that one, and then that's when we make a movie about it, where the one guy has just a regular human wife, but his leader doesn't think it's a good idea because these people are beneath us, and he's like, no, there's good in them, and then they fight, and the good guy eventually wins.
Yeah.
Man, another movie.
There's probably about 50 movies like that.
There's already a bunch of movies like that already.
Yeah. I was just going to say that having these 80 to 90 Supermen around is probably why S.H.I.E.L.D. was made. It was to oversee them. That's a different universe.
And they all
we gotta
became
keep
Captain
tabs on these
America.
guys. Yeah, that they captured one, and then they took his DNA and refined it even more and made Captain America.
80 Captain Americas. Oh my gosh.
And then we got a show. Then we got a show about going after those guys.
Yeah, I like it.
Well, I mean that Disney already made that one, so I think it was Captain Falcon or Captain America and the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Holy hell, I got there eventually. But anyway, we go to the sick bay and MacGyver's is talking to Khan, and he immediately just starts hitting on her. He's like, "Yo, girl, I saw you liked, everything about me," and she tries to talk to him about his ship, and he just starts criticizing her hair. Like, it's good to know that even in the future, the old treat 'em like dirt move still works. Because he's just like, your hair looks like shit. And she's like, you're right.
You're right, marry me.
He's like, here's the one we go that I brought all the way back from the 90s. Let's see if this still works. Hey, you look like shit. And she's like, yes, I do.
Yes, I
Maybe
do.
that's why she liked him so much. She's like, I'm a 90s gal at heart. I like being treated like crap.
That's why she studied it.
Oh my God. I don't want to laugh. I should laugh at this. This ain't funny. This is not funny. This is messed up. Oh my God, women are gonna hate us. Hey, women should. Hey, I love you. No matter what they say, Paul loves you. Please listen to us. Please don't leave.
They're all shutting it off right now.
Like these guys.
Yeah, so he starts to fix her hair for her, but all he does is just fuck it up. He makes it worse. I mean, he's got long hair. Like
he took out 2 pins.
Yeah, like right. It just kind of let it fall. Like he could have braided it or something. He has to know how to braid his hair. It's kind of long.
Something.
Like I can do a braid. Yeah, she keeps trying to keep it professional, but she's not doing a very good job of it. And then she tries to leave. And he just grabs her, and he's this fucking wild close-up, like almost up his nose. And he's like, I'm glad you came. Please come again.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what the fuck that was.
Oh, my God.
But we got it.
I think he missed something where they cut it out of inappropriate scene.
Oh, man.
I don't fucking know.
It's very awkward. It's very awkward, and it's like it's awkward in a way of like, I don't know. It's just weird. It's very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But but it makes me laugh though. But it's very uncomfortable at the same time.
Yeah. So a little bit later, we are preparing for dinner, and they're serving celery and colored food shapes again. And McCoy walks in, and he's like, this is very impressive. Like, it doesn't take much to impress you then. It's fucking celery on a plate and some colored, like, wooden-looking food cubes. And he's like, fantastic.
You got someone to cut the celery.
Yeah, they didn't, though. It still had leaves on it, I think. So Kirk is there, and he explains that they're preparing a welcoming dinner for Khan at the suggestion of MacGyver's. And he's just like, how attracted is she to Khan? He's like, it's just at this point, it's just a professional curiosity, but I don't think it is. I think he either wants her or he wants Khan or he wants both. He wants in on that action. He's like, look, I'm good looking, she's good looking, Khan's good looking. Like, let's make this thing happen.
It's been.
They're like, hey, it's the future.
Khan like, hey, girl, it's been 200 years since I, he got down. The first female I see, I definitely want her. Like, I just want to clarify, that's the first female he saw since he was frozen.
Yeah, he's like, man, I was a nerd in my time, but the chicks here love me. Like, the first one that sees him is all about him.
Yep.
But Bones makes a comment about Khan's magnetism, saying that it could overpower MacGyver's, which is fucking ridiculous. Like, this is some kind of science thing, and Khan's magnetism is a 10, but her magnetism defense is only an 8, so he automatically wins.
When they mentioned that, though, in my head, I thought, why couldn't they say, like, they exude some kind of pheromone that seems to make him intoxicating to any women around him? Like if they had added that genetically, I could have grabbed my head around that. But the terminology was like, oh, she just can't resist him just because. I didn't think that was very, very good at all. Well,
she was thirsty for him as soon as she laid eyes on him.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, like, they didn't even have to really say, like, just, like, oh, do you think she wants that dude? And then all you had to do was be like, yeah. Like, and that's it.
Maybe she's like, hey, I bet he played Mario Kart. I finally can play Mario Kart with somebody.
Yeah, yeah. Finally, somebody can play these games I studied with.
Yeah, I think it came on very quickly. I know the shows are only half hour long, et cetera, et cetera. But this is another episode where I feel like the build-up could have been longer before she decided to betray him. You know,
Yeah,
she automatically she automatically liked them already, already. She liked them.
yeah.
Looked at them once, and she had the Google ads already. So you kind of knew where it was going from like the first 10 minutes of the show.
Yeah. But we go to MacGyver's room, and Khan walks in and he's wearing this fucking sick ass gold outfit, and I'm not even kidding. Like the thing is, it looks pretty good. Like that jacket looks comfortable as fuck, and it's really well made.
Yeah.
And he compliments MacGyver's paintings and compliments her on her new hairstyle, which she just kind of let her hair down really. And then he's like walking around fucking with stuff, and he uncovers a painting of himself that she had started, and he says that he's very honored that she's doing that. But he cautions her about bold men that she's interested in, saying that bold men just take what they want. And then he kisses her, and she does that fucking weird old school movie kiss thing where she like puts her arms under his underarms, like under his armpits, and then grabs his shoulders from behind.
Yeah.
I'm like, I've never been kissed like that. Am I doing it wrong? Like, am I not good enough that nobody does that?
Apparently, you're not doing the right thing, sir. You're not doing the kind of kisses that you need.
Yeah, they don't hit me with the fucking reverse T-Rex arms to just grab my shoulders. And then I was like, I'm just gonna do that to my wife, even though she's shorter than me. I'm just gonna fucking like crouch and just get my arms up under there. Then she's gonna be like, "What the fuck are you doing?" I'm like, "I saw it on Star Trek. It's not a big deal." But we go to the dinner, and Kirk asks Khan to tell them about his journey, and Spock just fucking jumps on him. He's like, "Yeah, why are you in the history books, motherfucker?" just insane. And Khan and Spock, they start to go back and forth about the war to end tyranny on Earth, and Khan seems to favor the idea of a dictator overseeing all of Earth. And so he commends Kirk he's like, "Hey, you do a great job letting your second in command attack me over here while you just sit and watch me for a weakness." And Kirk is like, "Hey, you're using military terms. It's just a social occasion." And Khan responds that it's been said that social occasions are only warfare concealed, and many people prefer it more honest and open.
There's some good dialogue back and forth during this dinner.
There really is.
Well, this is very remnants of a combat movie, I think, where it's a chess match between two guys who are having a conversation, trying to read each other, trying to see what kind of men they are to try to get what they want from each other.
Right, and Khan notices that Kirk is playing the game of letting Spock have the match while he just watches how Khan plays. It's really solid.
And the fact that the idea that Khan even recognizes it is a battle in itself.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm smart enough to know, oh, you're doing that, but I'm smart enough to know what you're doing. So so I'm going to mention it just so you know that I understand what you're doing and you can't get it past me.
Yeah, and he's either confident or dumb enough to say he knows it.
Yep.
The funny thing, though, the conversation happened naturally. It's not like Kirk told Spock to interrogate him. Spock just started asking questions.
Because they're just a killer fucking team, man.
But if you didn't, Kirk knew how Spock was going to react because he knows Spock. He knows exactly what Spock was going to do.
That's true.
So Spock, Kirk already had a plan to say, like, I'm bringing Spock here. Spock going to do. Spock going to ask the question he needs to answer because I know Spock. He's going to do what he has to do. So I'm going to be ready there to look and watch to see how he reacts so I understand what kind of man he is and what exactly he wants. Because Kirk still is trying to figure out his intentions. Still, he don't know.
He doesn't know how to approach it,
and he doesn't know how to exactly ask the question. Like, hey, what are your intentions? Like, oh, that might come off hostile, and Kirk's trying to just understand what kind of person he is.
I just think it's fucking hilarious though that Spock was just so open, like just so upfront, because Kirk's just like, "Hey, tell me about your journey here." But Spock is just like, doesn't even wait for him to start to answer. Just like in the back, he's like, "And why are you in the history books?" Like, all right, dude.
Like in the background,
going down
in the background, saying stuff in the background. I see what you're saying now. I get a picture in my head like somebody behind the background, like, "Oh yeah, and he said about your mama too." Like,
it's just funny as shit coming from Spock.
I get what you're saying.
But Kirk says that Khan was afraid and that he fled when mankind needed courage. And Khan gets kind of mad and he says he's never been afraid. And he's like, "We offer the world order, the new world order, brother," which is not what they are. But, come on, I got good ones today. Jesus.
Dude, I got you. I know what it is.
Unless you're a Wolfpack man.
Yeah, but hey, they're still NWO. But Kirk is just like, oh, who is the we that you're talking about? And Khan's like, I'm feeling a little fatigued. I think I need to go. And he asks Kirk for permission to return to his quarters, and Kirk lets him go. And that is a very good move from Khan.
Yeah.
Because if Kirk says no, then it just makes Kirk look petty and controlling.
Yep.
But if he says yes, then he knows that he's letting Khan have his way, and it makes him look weak to let him get his way. So like that was like he could have just got up and left, but he asked for permission for the guy who's trying to be in charge. And that's a solid fucking move because that's a no-win situation for Kirk.
I liked it. I thought it was smart myself too. I thought it was smart he asked and then, excuse me. And then Kirk raised up, he stood up and left too.
Yep. Solid move. Solid writing.
Yep.
And just great acting in this scene. I mean, like pretty much always, but in this, like, this is really good. So, we go to Khan's quarters, and MacGyver's enters to apologize for the way that he was treated, and she says that she doesn't know if Khan's gonna like living in her time, and he like pushes her away, and he tells her that she needs to either go or she can stay, but just, hey, do whatever the hell you want to do, basically.
The mind games have begun.
Yep. So she decides she's gonna stay a little longer, and he's like, well, how much is a little longer? He's like, you know what, actually, just if you want to stay, you have to ask me to. And so she does. And it's like, damn, dude, it's been like a day and a half and you're already in that like fucking toxic abusive struggle. Like he moves quick.
He's like, now I'm going to make you beg it. Now I'm going to make you beg. After he's asked him, now beg. And now get on your knees and say you want to be with me. And I'm sitting there.
And this was the point where I actually hated Khan. Like I knew that he was the bad guy. So I'm like, he's bad. But he was good at being the bad guy. And this is one of those things that's just like makes him a total piece of shit and like makes you hate him for a completely different reason.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like even like, okay, you were, you're up to something nefarious and that's cool. Like you're a bad guy. But then like you start acting like this. All right, now you're just a fucking piece of shit.
Also during the scene, man, I've never seen someone develop Stockholm Syndrome so fast.
Yeah, no shit, dude.
Well, that's the issue with the whole thing about me saying earlier, it happened so fast and gradually. I feel like this character is so good. This could have been 2 episodes, and it could have been.
This could have been a fucking season.
This could have been like a really good build up or whatever of this situation and her choosing to be with him, or whatever. Because like the dynamic they're having is a dynamic that's messed up to say, but some women have this dynamic in real life. That's why it hits harder now than I think back then. Because I think I've known women in their life that had guys in their life that act like this. So I think it hits harder. And like, I think the emotion behind this is so deep that they really could have spent time really developing a relationship just a little better. It sucks that it was just only 1 episode, right? And it wasn't like a build up. Because I feel like, man, it's such a good character to have. Like, he's bad, but he's not bad. I mean, he's bad, but his intentions are in a way to rule by domination. But they say later, while he was ruling, there was no crime, there was no criminals, like all this stuff going on. So like while he was ruling, all this good stuff happened. So technically, even though we look at him as a bad guy, under his rule, great things were happening. So it's a very weird and interesting, that character, and I wish they had so much time to jump into his character a lot more, because I just think they didn't do him justice.
Yeah, absolutely. So then he does this weird thing where he forces her to her knees and tells her to open her heart, saying that he wants her to help take the ship.
I didn't think that's what he was going to ask her when he made her get on her knees.
Yeah, I wasn't sure where that was going either.
Yeah.
But we went to heart. She says that she just doesn't want him to hurt anybody, and he doesn't promise that he's not going to, and he just tosses her aside. He's like, all right, get out. After, making her ask to stay, he tells her to leave.
Yep.
And so she refuses to leave and then promises to do anything that he asks. And I was like, man, this dude is he's a fucking coward.
You guys realize what scene this is right here? The scene right here actually is Darth Vader and Emperor Palpatine when he chooses the dark side. Because he like the whole back and forth or whatever, and then at the end he's like, to say, well, then I can save your wife or whatever, he says, I'll do anything you ask. Then he becomes the bad guy. This is kind of moment for her where she's like, I'll do anything you ask. And now she's now a Lord Vader before he hurts himself. And now she's going to do all the bad things that to make sure that he gets power. So,
we don't know how long she's been serving on the Enterprise, but man, she threw all her colleagues under the bus really quick.
Yeah, real fucking fast.
That's the only issue I have. And I think it just, That's the only bad writing they did for this part, was they made it happen so fast.
Yeah, and that's, to me, that's not even really like a bad writing thing. It's just that they only got an hour to tell a story, and it fucking sucks because they have some good stories that could use a lot more fleshing out.
Yep.
Like they're a victim of their own like good writing in a lot of these episodes. And it normally doesn't detract anything for me. It's just like, oh, that sucks. But like, man, I really would have liked to see this episode,
When you
get more done with it.
when you studied the actor that played Khan or whatever, did it say that there's other episodes of Khan, or just the next time we see him is in that movie?
Not until the movie, I don't think.
Okay, see, well then they must have saw something in his character that was they should bring back 20 years later. There must have been something.
Somebody somewhere saw, some guy trying to help with the Star Trek franchise, took a look at this and said, man, there is a lot here to work with, and we can really do something good with it. And they're not wrong. There is a lot of really good shit in this episode. I wish they had more time with it. Like, this episode could have been a movie.
Yeah.
And it just slap another fucking hour on there, flesh some of this stuff out. That, like I said earlier, this episode could have been an entire season. You could have built this up.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of good stuff in here.
And particularly with, I felt like her betrayal would have been more epic if it had been led on to the end where you wasn't sure, and then right at the last moment she betrayed everybody. They're like, oh,
Right.
she with him. Like, oh, we wasn't sure, but I think it could have been a more defining moment. I mean, even though this scene is really good with the whole what he made her do, I felt like it could have been bigger. I just for really good
Yeah, they
character,
could
it
have made the
been much
impact of her betrayal hit harder if they, like Brandon said, had a whole season to span out the,
bigger.
a
Well, even
storyline between the two of them.
but not even a season, a couple episodes. 2 episodes would have been fine.
Yeah.
It could have
Fuck,
been,
another
Right.
10 minutes would have been great.
yeah, for real. It's just a little more time, just a tad more time. I think it would have been better.
But they frequently fall victim, and this is basically me doing my end of the episode wrap up here, but they fall victim to their own patterns in this show, in that they take a very long time to set up the beginning of an episode, and then your middle like your conflict is very sudden, and then the resolution is even faster. If they would just cut out a lot of shit in the beginning of this, let them expand the middle of it and give a little more time to flesh out that ending, these episodes would be fantastic. But they spend too much time setting it up.
Because we're 30 minutes in, and he just brought up he wants to take over the ship now, and it's about 10 minutes of that, and then the 5 minute. Oh, you're right. I never even thought about that, T-Bro. The way they put.
And it's every big episode like this. They spent too much time in the setup. They don't give it enough time to develop, and then they don't give it any time to resolve. So it's always real quick, and it's not satisfying.
Okay, I understand.
But what was satisfying was we went to a commercial break, and then we come back to Kirk, McCoy, Scotty. Was that around back then? We're not getting into that. Kirk, McCoy, and Scotty and Spock are in a briefing room going over the personal history of Khan. Khan Noonien Singh is what his name is. And Spock says that from 1992 through 1996, Khan was the absolute ruler of over a quarter of the Earth, from Asia through the Middle East.
A regular old Genghis Khan he was.
Yeah, well, that's the name. Whatever that is, why he's named that. But McCoy notes that Khan was the last of the tyrants to be overthrown, so they haven't had any more issues since him. But he fucked things up so bad that nobody ever wanted to do that again. And Kirk and Scotty confess their admiration for Khan, saying that he really was the best of the tyrants, And Spock is like, well, that's incredibly concerning. And Kirk explains that humans have a streak of barbarism in them. And Scotty's like, well, there weren't any massacres under Khan, so that's a good thing. Spock says that, there was also no freedom. And McCoy is like, well, there were no wars unless Khan was attacked. So Spock again expresses his concern, and the others just kind of laugh at him. And Kirk's like, well, we can be against Khan, but still admire him at the same time. And Spock says that he finds that illogical. And Kirk is like, yes, it is. It's very illogical. You are 100% right.
Which us humans, we do that, though, which is interesting that, they kind of break the fourth wall and point that out.
Yeah, and people look at us, sometimes people look at you the same way Spock looked at them, like, oh, you must agree with it, because now everything is, it's absolutes now. Like, you're either 100% for or against something, which is fucking dumb.
I like you bitch that, which is the issue, one of the big issues in life in general, is particularly nowadays where You're either this way or this way. You can't be in the middle.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not to get into current, affairs and things, but yeah, I think we all agree that that's fucking dumb.
Yep. I agree.
Yep.
But Kirk calls security, speaking of fucking dumb things, and has him put a 24-hour watch on Khan's quarters. So a little bit later, Kirk enters Khan's room to find him meditating and wearing a Starfleet uniform. And you can see it on his face. He's real fucking confused about it. He's like, what the fuck is he doing in this uniform? But he doesn't say anything. And he wants some answers to the questions that he had earlier. And Khan just explains that they had left Earth to start a new life. And he goes on to talk about how unimpressed he is with humanity's evolution and his time away. And then Kirk's like, all right, I'm done here. All of my questions have been answered. Because Khan's like, where are you going? I thought you wanted more answers. And he's like, no, you've answered everything. Thank you. And then he leaves. When he leaves, they show like the guard standing next to the door outside. And this, I fucking knew. I figured it was going to play out this way. But I made this note, and I said, I never understood having a guard stand next to a door. Wouldn't it be better to have him stand across from the door so that he could be facing the potential threat that's leaving the room? And then
Well, that would just make sense.
Yeah.
Right. And then that's in, like, they even do that now in movies and shows. It's really dumb. But Khan goes up to the door, and he's super fucking strong, so he just forces it open, like he pries it open, and then he beats the shit out of the guard outside and, like, sends him flying down the corridor. Now, if the guard was standing across the corridor, like on the other side, facing the wall, could have just blasted him as soon as that door opened. But nope, didn't stand a chance.
Yeah. Khan's Star Trek outfit, or Starfleet outfit, I wonder if it's different, because I think he had a weird symbol on his. Instead of a star, he has a swirl.
Well, yeah, because remember that just denotes the different areas of the ship that you work in or whatever, the different departments.
Yeah, I'm just wondering where he got his suit from.
Yeah, I don't know what the swirl one means, but I
Yeah.
know that they have like different
Symbols.
logos for different areas that you work in.
Yeah, I just wonder where he got his from.
Yeah. Yeah, they never explained that. That was one of the things I thought was going to be like maybe she got him a uniform and he was going to sneak around the ship because not everybody knows what he looks like, but that never happened either. So a little bit later on the Botany Bay, a lot of the people are awake and they've been given phasers, and Khan is there just like handing out phasers. And we come back to the Enterprise bridge, and Kirk gets a call from a very relaxed security guard. He's just like, oh, hey, Khan got away, bruh. And they go to a security alert, but the communication channels have been jammed, so they can't do anything. And Kirk tries to leave, but the elevators are also jammed, and they've been cut off from the atmospheric controls. I don't know why he went to that control room. He's like, wait, we can't call out, and we can't get out. I better go look at the atmosphere to make sure that we can breathe. But they can't do anything with it. So they call Scotty in engineering, and Khan answers. And he tells Kirk that the ship is now his, and that he's willing to negotiate for it. And Kirk is like, all right, fuck it. Hey, Spock, flood all the decks with neural gas. And I'm like, that's been an option the entire time?
Dude, yeah.
So they got that installed the last time they went to the Starbase.
Bro, yeah. I saw that and I was like, oh my gosh, what in the world is this? I didn't know this was a thing.
Like, they had an escaped prisoner with a wiped mind, a very dangerous man, running around the ship, and they didn't bother to do that? Like, they had a ship full of people with a virus that made them act fucking crazy, and they didn't do that?
They've had Gary Mitchell-like beings on the ship.
To me, I feel like they come up with cool ideas later on and add it up and think we're not smart enough to think, oh, what about that one time we didn't use that? That's what happens. I remember that. Like, I've been watching, what about that one time?
Like I was saying, maybe they upped their defenses after all these breaches that they've had.
Okay, we'll give them a pass. We'll
they learned their lesson, and they're just trying to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Okay, I'll take that.
Yeah, I would accept that. But it doesn't matter because they can't do that either. They can't use their neural gas. So Kirk wants Uhuru to contact Starbase 12, and she's like, oh yeah, why don't you do it yourself? Like you were going to do that fucking Morse code thing earlier, you dick.
I would have loved if she would have turned around and was the bitch to him. Like, no, I'm not going to do that. You were rude to me earlier.
Right. But she does try it, and all of their channels are jammed, of course. Everything's just broke. So Khan demands that Kirk surrender the bridge, or telling him that if he doesn't, everybody there is going to suffocate. And then we go to a commercial. We get a captain's log from a really angry Kirk stating that Khan and his people have the Enterprise and that they have discarded their own ship, so they got rid of the tractor beam. They're not towing it anymore. And the bridge is running low on air. And Kirk is recommending accommodations for basically everyone in the crew because he just figures they're all fucked. Because like at this point, the camera's panning around and everybody's like passed out or passing out. So he's like, yeah, make sure you get these guys medals because I can't get them any air.
Which I feel like I'm going to jump in here really quick because I don't know if Paul's going to bring this up or not. But once again, Kirk, last man standing, where you would think Spock would be the last one to go down.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
Spock,
you for bringing
superior
it up to me
lungs.
because I put Kirk Superman on here. I put Kirk last one sleep. Kirk equals Superman once again. I didn't notice how much it's gonna drive me crazy this whole show. Every time I see it, he's always the last one. I get it, but it's not Spock.
It doesn't really drive me crazy, but when they've shown Spock to be, I guess, the superior being between humans and him, you would think he would be the last one to go down.
And every situation though, because later on it's gonna happen later when we see Superman Kirk 2, and I'll bring it up later when it happens. It's starting to annoy me now, and I thought, like, I still love the show to death, but Kirk can't be super everything. He can't be a genius and have super strength and have super healing too, and be like he can't have everything. Like it makes for a show that just, I don't know. It's starting to annoy me. It's starting to get me.
Paul, hold on. Backstory for Kirk. Maybe his family is lineages from the eugenic wars.
Oh, so he's genetically superior.
He is a Superman, yeah.
Yeah.
What I think is hilarious is that they're running out of oxygen, so he would be like, hey, everybody in the bridge, this is what's going on. We're running out of air. We're probably not going to make it, so we need to do our best to conserve air. You guys stop breathing while I go ahead and make a fucking vocal diary entry. And he's just over there sucking up all that air. So, yeah, everybody on the deck is passed out, or they're dead, but they never say they died, so I didn't add anything to the death count. And he finishes his log, and then he passes out. Well, he tries to finish, but he passes out before he can. And then a little bit later, Khan has woken everybody up and gathered them in a room, and he's lecturing them on how they have only improved their technology, but they haven't improved as humans during his time away. And he offers to let them join him because he needs their training to operate the ship. And Scotty just wants to know where Kirk is. And Khan has Uhura go over and turn on a viewing screen. But she resists, and she gets backhanded real fucking hard by one of Khan's guys. Day. No. But here's the thing, though. Like, Uhura is... They didn't highlight it. Uhura's a fucking badass. These dudes are supermen, and he backhands the fuck out of her. Like, he didn't hold back. And then she turns and looks at him like, is that it? Like, fucking do it again, bitch. See what happens. Like, dude.
She's like, I'm about to fuck your world up.
Yeah, dude. Like, she didn't give a shit. And, fuck, good for her. Uhura's tough as fuck. So, he goes to hit her again, and MacGyver stops him. And they turn on the screen to show the medical decompression chamber losing pressure, and Kirk is inside of it. So Khan is like, look, hey, Spock, if you join me, I can stop this and we can spare Kirk. And he threatens to put the crew in the chamber one by one and, make them watch each other die. But MacGyver says that she doesn't want to watch this. She asks, can she not watch this? And Khan's like, all right, you're weak. Go ahead and leave. So she does leave. And Khan says that if even just one person joins him, then he will let Kirk live. And they're all like, well, we actually kind of hate Kirk. We're waiting for him to die, then we're going to join you. They suddenly lose video, and the guard goes, his first instinct is just to go smack Uhura. So he goes over there to do it. But Khan stops him and says that he's like, it's no big deal. Kirk's dead. It doesn't really matter. We don't need to see this anymore. And he tells the guard to take Spock to the chamber next. And we go to the chamber, and MacGyver approaches the guard who's guarding the chamber and tricks him into looking away, and then she injects him with something that just knocks him out. So she increases the pressure, and she frees Kirk from the chamber and asks him not to kill Khan as a trade for saving his life, which is real fucking dumb. And Spock and his guard escort, they enter the room. Kirk kind of hides for a second, and then when they pass by, they do the old jump on him, beat the fuck out of him thing, and Spock does the nerve pinch to render the guard unconscious, which means that it even works on super beings. So,
I was about to say that.
After Spock did that, I'm like, man, I want to see a showdown between Spock and Khan, just a brawl.
Khan would beat the brakes off of Spock, man. Khan would beat the brakes off Spock.
Well, I wanted to see it doesn't even have to be against Khan. Just, I mean, all of these super people should be as strong as him, right? I wanted to see that just so we know where Spock measures up against people like that. Like, how strong is he compared to the average man? Can he take, a Superman?
Yeah, I understand that.
So, Spock brings Kirk up to speed on everything, and they form a plan to get gas to every deck but the one that they're on. And then Khan tries to call his crew, but he doesn't get an answer, and then gas starts flooding the room. So the crew that are in there just starts beating up Khan's people, and Khan just runs away like a bitch and leaves everybody else there to pass out.
Okay, part one here.
I was hoping Uhura was going to get up and like kick the guy in the balls that hit her.
Yeah, but even the punches that they threw him, you shouldn't have hurt him that bad because they're superhuman. All of them are stronger than Khan, right?
Right.
So I thought
you would think, yeah.
I think the punches they threw would be kind of annoying. Like, oh yeah, okay, you think that like. Even if you caught him off guard.
It was the surprise that got him more than the actual punch itself because they just weren't expecting it.
I suppose
and then you couple that with the gas pouring in the room.
Yeah.
So Kirk shows up in the corridor. And he finds Scotty there, and Scotty tells him that Khan got away. And Spock calls Kirk to tell him that somebody closed the gas line in engineering. And Kirk's just like, well, that's where Khan is. So he just starts running that way. And we go to engineering. And Khan's there messing with a console, and he can hear Spock and Scotty having a conversation over the intercom. And they're talking about, like, Kirk is headed to the engineering room.
Yep.
He's going to go get Khan. So Khan hears that, and he's like, all right, I guess I'll just jump him when he gets here. And that's what he does. He hides. And as soon as Kirk gets in there, he jumps him. And, like, Spock and Scotty continue their plan to meet in the armory. And I thought that maybe they were going to do this thing where they knew that Khan could hear that, and they were going to say that, like, Kirk was headed that way, or say that they were going to go do this, and then, like, actually do something different, but they didn't do that.
I actually thought that also.
Yeah, nothing came out of that. So, yeah, Kirk gets there. Khan easily disarms him and just fucking wrecks that phaser with his hands, just crushes it.
Yeah.
So that gives you a good idea of how strong he is. Unless those things are made out of, like, tinfoil, then he's
Plastic.
not that strong at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can hear a beeping sound. And Khan does the old classic bad guy thing and explains that he rigged the ship to overload and explode. and Kirk just kind of casually goes over and tries to stop it. But Khan's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, I'm right here. And just like throws him across the room. And then they have a real quick fight for a couple of minutes, and they trade blows evenly. And one of them is the guy playing Kirk is an obvious stunt double. And now that you pointed that out, Paul, I looked at that guy. I was like, dude, that ain't even close.
Dude, that's been the same guy the whole time. He's been doing it the whole time. It's been like that.
And what's funny is, like, he was even facing the camera, and they did no attempt to make it not look like him.
Even the Khan don't look like me. The Khan guy was the old guy.
Yeah, it was real funny. But Khan is just beating the shit out of Kirk, and he stops to gloat about him being. He's like, I'm 5 times stronger than you, and so Kirk just grabs a weapon and beats Khan unconscious with it.
Yeah, because once again, Superman Kirk does the impossible and beats a super strength man because he's Kirk. Man, Kirk should have got
the only thing that would have made this scene better if there was the giant wrench again.
Oh yeah, dude.
No, I was like, come on, man, Kirk can't do everything. He just beat him up barehanded. At first, he started even with them. A super genetically human said even with them fist to fist, had to grab a weapon and beat him down. It's driving me nuts. And
also what drives me crazy is that, like, it falls again to that we need to wrap this up bullshit. Yeah. So Khan's just standing there talking, watching Kirk grab this, like, pipe, and then watches him swing it and just fucking gets railed by it.
And the fight should have been better too, because the buildup of the character was so big. I thought this could have been a very, very good fight. Like this to show Kirk as how weak he was. Because remember this, he fights a Gorn. And it was like, he was hurt worse than this. So I'm assuming this is stronger than the Gorn, so it should have been like a really, really big thing. And it just, for such a good character, it wasn't as big as it should have been.
Yeah, Khan's unconscious, and Kirk runs to the console, shuts off the overload. And then we cut to a little bit later where Kirk is giving Captain's log explaining that they have regained the ship and that Khan and his people are going to be put in a reorientation center. Khan and MacGyvers enter a room under armed guard escort, which a lot of good that'll do because we know the guards. And they prepare for a trial to be held, including Kirk and Spock, McCoy, and Scotty. Not Spock McCoy, there's a comment there. Unless that is his last name, I don't know. So Kirk declares that all of the charges in the matter have been dropped. It's like, oh my gosh. And he says that they're heading towards the SETI Alpha star system, and it's no more inhospitable than the Botany Bay colony in Australia. And he asks Khan, he's like, hey, you think you'll be able to tame an entire planet? And Khan's like, well, yeah. Like, do you know who I am, bro? Yeah, I held over a quarter of the Earth. Kirk then offers MacGyver a choice between court-martial and going with Khan, and of course she chooses to go with Khan, which is real fucking dumb because I feel like in her court-martial, in order to get away with this, all she had to do was be like, look, I was pretending to be with Khan because I knew he was going to be able to take over the ship, and I was just playing a double agent, and I couldn't let anybody else know.
Nah, I think I'll fall for that one.
I gotta what? I mean, there were in the beginning. I thought, or when she went to go save Kirk, I thought maybe that she was doing that, but like there was a small hope. But no double agent from her. Khan's like, all right, yeah, she can go with me. He's super happy that he has his new world and he has a chance to build an empire.
Do you think Kirk made the right choice by giving Khan a whole planet basically to conquer?
Okay, we wait.
Hold on, we're like 3 sentences from getting away with this, or from being done with this, and then we'll get in there because that's gonna be one. So Kirk ends the hearing, and Khan and the others leave the room, and then Spock notes that it'll be really interesting to return to SETI Alpha in 100 years and see what Khan has done with it, and Kirk just agrees, and then they leave the room, and then that's the end of that. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I understand it, but like it's one of those things where if you knew somebody's gonna be something evil and you kill them, is it okay? You know, I like what he did actually. I thought it was the best of two. It was the easy way of doing it. I think it was the best. He had two bad decisions: try to kill him, which Kurt would never do, or just give him a planet that has nothing and tell him to go conquer it. That'll take him however long to do.
I would have said dump him out of the fucking airlock and let him die in space, because he's very clearly a very dangerous guy. Like, he's literally a tyrant who at one point held over a quarter of the Earth under his command as a dictator. He has shown that his aspirations are to now rule all of space. Like, yeah, but why keep this guy alive?
Because he's not a bad guy though.
How is he not? He's trying to fucking subjugate everybody.
Yeah, but he's not
a dictator. He's definitely not a good guy.
But he's not. But he's not a bad guy either. He's immoral, but he's not bad though. Like, it's not like.
Do you know any bad guys that have ever put anybody in a decompression chamber to die?
Hey, he scared them with the threat of death. He didn't actually do it, did he?
He trying to do it.
He thought Kirk was dead. That's why he didn't care about getting the screen back. He's like, well, he's dead. It doesn't matter.
Okay, well, then that's the one exception of that situation. I just thought that he threatened them, man. I think it's that big of a deal.
He threatened him by putting him in a decontamination chamber and letting him die. That's the threat. Like,
okay, hey, it'll be all right. He survived.
Boy, nah, he's a threat to not just humanity but every race. Like that, this is a guy that would probably start an intergalactic war for his own advantage. Like if he got something out of it, he would do it.
This is a dude that would probably team up with the Romulans, be like, "Hey, I hate the Federation too. Let's join forces. The enemy of my enemy is my friend."
Or maybe he's the kind of leader we need, a dictator that makes things happen when they need to happen, so we don't have crime and war going on and people getting shot in our world every day. We need a
Khan. Well, the things that happen are the crime and the war.
We need a Khan.
Yeah. I don't know if living under the government boot is any better than the crime itself.
Exactly. Yeah. What's better, Khan or the government? Let's decide.
Well, Khan would be the government.
Yeah, but I'm saying Khan or current government, sir. I'm saying current government that dictated. Would you rather have what we have now or the rule of Khan?
We don't have enough information about the time under Khan to make that decision. But
they said crime was low.
They did not say crime was low. They said that there weren't any wars unless Khan was attacked, but he was obviously attacked because he had to fucking leave the Earth.
It sounds like most of the human race was scared of Khan.
Oh,
right.
That's why they didn't want to. That's why the world didn't want the world's population to know, like, hey, there's 90 more of these guys possibly still out here. Like, clearly they thought these guys were dangerous.
All right, Khan, I'm on your side, buddy. I would let you live and do your ambitions.
Nah, fuck that. He's a threat to all living things. He's too ambitious.
It'll be okay, brother Khan. It'll be okay.
Well, that and eugenics itself could be pretty messed up also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
All right. Let's get into final thoughts on this one, Paul.
Final thought was this episode was fun. It was good. It was great. We enjoyed it because I was laughing all the time talking about it. I really enjoyed it. My only complaint literally is timing. It's because it was one episode, so they had a very good character. They could have taken so much time fleshing out him a little better here and there, but that's kind of it. But I did Spock did say this, a quote that stuck with me. He said, "Insufficient facts always invites dangers," and it kind of stuck with me, even though, I clearly can't explain exactly what it means. I have an idea in my head what it means, but every episode, Spock always has this like really cool, big quote he has that always sticks with me. So, but overall episode, if I had to do like a scale out of 10, it was a 9.9. Like the only issue that I had was just timing. That was it. So that's my thoughts.
Yeah, this one for me, man, was I fucking loved this episode. I wish I had more of it. That's my only complaint, is that like we went over it, there's so much good stuff here that they just didn't have time because of their own format to flush it all out. But they did, like, they brought up a lot of really cool stuff. They gave a lot of really good information. I want more information about the eugenics war. I want a better developed Khan Kirk rivalry. Like, this episode starts what could be a series-long rivalry, and then we don't see him again until a movie 20 years later, and that's sad because Khan is he is the perfect rival for Kirk. Like, they're basically the same guy, but Khan is just 50% more than him, and it's awesome. I wish we could get more of it. That's like, if my only complaint is that there wasn't enough of it, then I think that's a good complaint. So, just great episode for me. Dan?
Yeah, you guys pretty much said everything that I was going to say.
We got to start letting you go first.
If they would have been able to give us like 2 or 3 episodes of like fleshing out Khan and the whole backstory and, her betrayal, I think it would have made it almost a perfect 10. But I kind of land with Paul on it. I would give it a 9. Great episode. I mean, Khan is one of those characters that kind of transcends Star Trek itself with, Spock and Kirk. Like, I feel like even if you don't watch Star Trek, you've probably heard of Khan, which is pretty amazing since he's only been in one episode in a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder who was sitting around and saw the character and thought they should make the movie. I'm curious.
Honestly, I want more of Khan.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, just let him fucking pop up here and there. Just let them be rivals.
He seems like he'd be a really good big bad, like for a season or like the future. Like, you keep running into colonies that he's taken over, and he's slowly becoming like, almost like, if you don't know anything about the Next Generation guys, there's this thing called the Borg, and the Borg happens to be this technology virus that takes over other colonies or whatever. I feel you could have had Khan as a big bad, like taking over different galaxies and universes as you go there. And then I think, man, it'd be really cool. Man,
yeah,
such a good character. Such a good character. I'm a huge fan of that. But we do have our next TV show, Star Trek: The Eugenics Wars, starring Khan. We just see Khan's rise to power.
To all our listeners out there, get a hold of Paramount Plus for us. Like, hey, we listen to some guys that have some good ideas for some shows. And
the thing about the show also is these shows have a lot of nostalgia, and we happen to think lately, like even with the Star Wars Obi-Wan, where like it's something that we watched a long time ago, and they keep like going back. Oh yeah, we do a prequel of a prequel of a prequel, and they do like these backstories, and we'll watch them and whatever. So I feel like if you do some of these these characters in here with backstories, I thought people would be really interested to watch the shows.
Right. But the next thing we are watching is going to be season 1, episode 23, A Taste of Armageddon, and I don't want to miss a thing.
And it says...
that was a shitty reference, I'm sorry. They can't all be winners.
That was a great reference.
God,
what are you talking about?
I didn't even get that reference till you said it again. I don't want
I think this is like our 4th time bringing up the movie Armageddon for a show about Star Trek.
It's a good movie. It's a good fucking movie.
It's a terrible movie. It's terrible.
It's a terrible good movie.
Yeah, give me that episode description.
The Enterprise arrives at a planet to establish diplomatic relations and finds itself in the middle of peaceful war that threatens to destroy the ship. So, I guess they find
Sounds like a badass episode.
We'll see.
I think I'm going to get that one where the Prime Directive comes into play. That's what that sounds like to me.
Yeah.
Like, do we get involved or don't we? Like, we're not supposed to.
Yeah. We'll get that. So, I'm excited for it. I'm excited for every episode. I enjoy 90% of the episodes, so very well.
Yeah, and we're coming up on the end of season 1 here too.
Yep. How far we got about what 5 episodes left? 6 episodes? 7?
Something like that.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, as always, we're on Twitter at WWST_podcast, Gmail, WWSTpod@gmail.com, and we're everywhere on everything. You can listen to us just basically everywhere. If you have like ham and cheese sandwich, I'm sure you can listen to us on that. I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on that. But as always, thank you guys for listening to us and putting up with this ridiculousness. And hopefully we catch you on the next episode.
Later.
Later.